What if something as simple as your body's natural rhythms could actually influence your cancer? Risk? It sounds almost too straightforward, yet the science behind it might genuinely surprise you. Well, I'm Dr. Naraya Wolf, urologist and pelvic surgeon, and if you ever face questions or concerns about your urological health, stay with us. We're here to help you understand your body with clarity and comfort. Today we're exploring a fascinating question that's been studied by researchers for years. Could ejaculation frequency actually play a role in lowering prostate cancer risk? And if so, what does that mean for you? Let's talk about it openly, scientifically, and with the human perspective you deserve. Why this topic matters. Prostate cancer is one of the most common cancers affecting men worldwide. Roughly 1 in 8 men will be diagnosed with it during their lifetime. That's significant. If you consider any large group of men, whether it's family, friends, or colleagues, chances are someone you know will eventually face this diagnosis. So when research suggests that something as natural and personal as ejaculation frequency might influence cancer risk, it's worth paying attention. Not because it's a magic solution, but because understanding our bodies helps us make informed choices. What does the prostate actually do? To understand why ejaculation might matter, let's quickly review what the prostate does. This small gland sits below the bladder and surrounds the urethra. Its primary job is to produce fluid that mixes with sperm during ejaculation, fluid that nourishes and protects sperm on their journey. Between ejaculations, this fluid builds up inside the prostate, and that's where the research begins to get interesting. The theories behind the connection. Scientists have proposed a few theories about why ejaculation frequency might relate to prostate cancer risk. 1. The prostate stagnation hypothesis. This is the most widely discussed theory. The idea is that if prostatic fluid isn't regularly released, potentially harmful substances, things that could promote abnormal cell growth, might accumulate over time. Regular ejaculation, in this view, acts like a cleansing process, flushing out these substances before they can cause problems. 2. Stress and immune function. There's also thought that men who ejaculate more regularly may experience lower psychological stress, which in turn supports healthier immune function. Chronic stress has been linked to various health issues, including cancer, so this connection isn't far-fetched. 3. Prostate microbiome and cellular health. Finally, some researchers believe that regular ejaculation helps maintain a healthy prostate microbiome, the community of cells and metabolic processes within the gland. Normal function of zinc and citrate metabolism, which are protective factors, may be supported by regular activity. These theories aren't proven beyond doubt, but they give us a framework for understanding why this question is worth studying. How the study was designed. One of the most well-known studies on this topic was published in 2016, though it's been resurfacing in health media recently, which is why we're talking about it today. The researchers surveyed over 40,000 men starting in 1992 and followed them until 2010. That's nearly 18 years of data, and this timeline is crucial. Prostate cancer is a slow-growing disease. You can't just look at behavior over a year or two and expect to see meaningful patterns. You need decades of follow-up to understand whether something that happened earlier in life truly impacts cancer risk later on. The men were asked to estimate how often they ejaculated per month during specific decades of their lives, ages 20 to 29, 40 to 49, and so on. They answered these questions repeatedly over the years, which helped researchers track changes over time. But the researchers didn't just ask about ejaculation, they also gathered information on physical activity levels, weight and diet, smoking history, consumption of processed meats, tomato-based foods, and other nutrients, life stressors, like divorce or job changes, multivitamin use. Why all these questions? Because they wanted to control for other factors that might also influence prostate cancer risk. They wanted to isolate ejaculation frequency as much as possible to see if it truly made a difference. What they found. One of the interesting patterns they noticed right away was that ejaculation frequency naturally decreases with age. Among men aged 20 to 29, about 57% reported ejaculating 13 times per month or more. By ages 40 to 49, that number dropped to around 32%. This reflects normal changes in libido, relationships, stress, and life circumstances. When analyzing the data, the researchers compared men who ejaculated 21 times or more per month, roughly 5 or more times per week, with those who ejaculated only 4 to 7 times per month. And here's what stood out. Men who ejaculated 21 or more times per month during their 20s and 40s had about a 20% lower risk of developing low-grade prostate cancer compared to those ejaculating 4 to 7 times. This finding was specific to lower-risk prostate cancers, not the aggressive metastatic types, but still, a 20% reduction is notable. Important context. Now, before anyone starts setting weekly goals, let's talk about what this study doesn't prove. First, this was an observational study. That means it shows a correlation, a pattern, but it doesn't prove cause and effect. It's possible that men who ejaculate more frequently are simply different in other ways. Maybe they're more physically active, have lower stress, or maintain healthier lifestyles overall. The researchers tried to control for these factors, but it's nearly impossible to account for everything. Second, the study relied on self-reported data. Men had to remember and estimate their ejaculation frequency over decades. Memory isn't perfect, and estimates can vary. Third, the protective effect was seen only for lower-risk cancers, not aggressive forms. That's an important distinction. Should you change your behavior? So, what's the takeaway here? Should you start aiming for 21 ejaculations per month to lower your cancer risk? Here's my perspective as a urologist. This study is well-designed, thoughtful, and backed by solid data. It's worth paying attention to, but I wouldn't recommend that every man suddenly overhaul their life to hit a specific number. Here's why. 1. Context matters. Ejaculation frequency is influenced by many factors: relationship status, stress, physical health, mental well-being, and personal preferences. What feels natural and healthy for one person may not for another, and that's okay. 2. Correlation isn't prescription. Just because frequent ejaculation is associated with lower cancer risk doesn't mean forcing yourself to ejaculate more will necessarily reduce your risk. Your overall health, genetics, lifestyle, and environment all play roles too. 3. Quality of life comes first. If you're already ejaculating regularly and it feels natural, that's great. But if you're not, I wouldn't want you to feel pressured or stressed about it. Stress itself can negatively impact health, including sexual health. What I would recommend: instead of fixating on a specific number, I'd encourage you to listen to your body. If you have a healthy libido and regular sexual activity feels good, there's no reason to hold back. Focus on overall prostate health. Stay physically active, eat a balanced diet rich in fruits and vegetables, maintain a healthy weight, and don't smoke. Stay connected to your healthcare. Regular checkups and prostate screenings, especially as you age, are essential. Reduce unnecessary stress. Chronic stress affects everything: your mood, your immune system, and yes, your sexual health. A gentle reminder: if you've been holding back on sexual activity because you thought it might be harmful, let me reassure you. There's no evidence that frequent ejaculation is bad for you. In fact, the opposite may be true. So if it feels right for you, embrace it without guilt or worry. At the end of the day, this research opens a door to understanding how our bodies work in ways we might not have considered before. It reminds us that sexuality isn't just about reproduction or pleasure, it's woven into our overall health in subtle, meaningful ways. But more than anything, I hope this conversation helps you feel informed and empowered. Prostate health doesn't have to be a mystery or a source of fear. It's something you can understand, monitor, and support with simple, thoughtful choices. If you ever have concerns, whether it's about prostate health, sexual function, or anything else, don't hesitate to reach out to a urologist you trust. These conversations matter, and you deserve clear, compassionate answers. Thank you for being here today. Take care of yourself, stay curious about your health, and remember, you're absolutely worth it.